it's Jessica and welcome to another review of a palette that I have been using. I think I used this 6 times, maybe only 5. So I like this palette. I think the colors are really pretty, but there's a couple things I don't like about it. So let me just go ahead and grab a few shades that I can swatch dry and wet, and I can show you the difference in them because there's a huge difference with them dry and wet. Alright. Okay, you guys, so for these swatches, I decided to swatch Silly, Wet and Dry, Sophisticated Wet and Dry, Selfish Wet and Dry, and Stubborn Wet and Dry. So let me just go ahead and show you. So this is Silly. On top is wet, on bottom is dry. Sophisticated, on top is wet, on bottom is dry. Stubborn, no, not stubborn, what is this one? Selfish. Selfish, on top is wet, on bottom is dry, and then Stubborn, on top is wet, and on bottom is dry. So there you go. You can definitely tell there's a huge difference. I mean, I hope you guys can tell the difference between wet and dry. That being said, on the eyelid it wears a little differently, especially in the inner corner. So if you want these inner corner kind of shades, like I like to use the shade Snobby and Sassy in the inner corner, it's best honestly to use them dry and just try to build them up dry, because if you use them wet they're going to break down. I don't know if you can see it in this eye specifically, but there is a breakdown in product. It just kind of chips off or something. So yeah, but you can use these shades wet, and you can even use these matte shades wet. I think these matte shades really shine when they're wet. I think they just overall look pretty good wet. And it doesn't ruin the matte shades, and I feel like a lot of times matte shades will get ruined when they're wet. So this is the wet version of that one shade, Sexy. And then there's the dry version. But I don't know, I have a hard time using mattes wet because most of the time they're going in my crease, and so it's a little difficult to use them wet, but they do work wet. So yeah, if you want to see more swatches of this palette, then I will link my swatch video down below. Overall, my thoughts on this palette, I'm going to quickly show you it compared to the second one. So here's the second palette, and as you can see we have Fabulous, which is, it's not matte but it's not super shimmery, and then we have Fearless, which is completely matte and it's a nice light color. So in my opinion, these shades in this palette are just like too shimmery to put on the as a brow bone highlight, even though I've been doing it. It's not my preferred kind of color. I'd much rather have like a light matte color. So for that reason, this is not one of my favorite palettes, and I would rather use like the Nude Tude palette over this one. I think it reminds me most of the Nude Tude palette. So I don't know, but it is a good palette. It's just, it's not going to be something that I'm always reaching for. You will probably see it again in the future, hopefully. I mean, I would hate to just be like, oh, I'm never using you again. That seems like a waste of money. But no, I do like this palette. It's just not as good as I thought it was going to be, which is a bummer. However, it is cheaper than the Naked palettes, significantly, about probably about $10 to $13 cheaper, I would say. So it is cheaper than the Naked palettes, and the quality is pretty equivalent to the Naked palettes. In fact, I would compare the quality of these shadows to the Lorac shadows. So that's saying something right there. The quality of these shadows is really good. I just wish they had light mattes in this palette. So that's my one critique. Other than that, I really do like the shades. I really like this shade Sultry. I like the shade Sexy. I like the shade Selfish. I like the shade Silly a lot. And I like this shade Standoffish, but it's so like, I don't know, kind of like just a glittery kind of shade, you definitely have to use it wet. But yeah, so when it comes to purchasing a Balm palette of the neutrals, so now they have the Nude Tude palette and they have the Nude Tude palette. And I would go with the Nude Tude personally because you have like all of these shades, and if you want to see a full review on this, it's gonna come up soon, you guys, pretty soon. I'm not gonna say exactly when, but probably next week for sure. So and I would definitely watch that review because it's gonna be good. Anyway, so yeah, I would say that if you're going to purchase the nude, one of the nude palettes, I would do the Nude Tude over the Nude Tude. But yeah, anyway, I'm going to quit rambling now because I feel like I've just said the same thing over and over and over again, and that's probably boring. If you guys have any questions, then please let me know in the comments, and I'll try to answer them the best that I can. Also, these shadows do last all day, especially if you wear a primer, and I've been wearing Lorac Behind the Scenes primer. So, overall, that's my thoughts on this, and I hope you guys like this review. I don't know, if you're a palette collector, then I would say definitely get this. I think it's worth having in your collection. But if you want a good quality, not so expensive nude palette, then I would definitely go with the second one instead of the first one. But that's just my opinion, so yeah. I really hope you guys like this video. I will see you guys in my next video. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And, bye.